All right. Record. All right. Welcome everybody to today's or this week's virtual brown bag. As usual, we do record all these calls, so we try not to share things that may cause, or get us into any kind of trouble with employers, clients, and so on. But we do encourage folks to, share things here with us, and we would rather not have to edit the videos later because we don't have time for that. We want to just upload the videos, make it available as soon as we're done with the meetups. The virtual brown bag is a place where we get together here. We share tips and tricks. It can be tools, it can be shortcuts, it can be articles or books that you've run into or you've read that you feel have been valuable to you. Maybe share those with others. It might be you might be able to help out somebody else that have the same questions or would like to have the same findings you've had. Experiences, something that quite possibly you've learned the hard way, and those are the best lessons, right? The ones that we never forget. Share with others, making maybe somebody else's life a little bit easier. Frustrations or difficulties, maybe you're trying to get something done and you're just frustrated because you can't, or the way that you found out to pull it off just it's not up to par with what you would hope. You share it here. Maybe somebody else has gone through the same pain and has better directions for that. So not supposed to be a one-way conversation, one guy talking and everybody just listening. It's really supposed to be a conversation. Somebody may start a topic on whatever it is, and then everybody's more than welcome to just unmute and start talking. We do this every Thursday from 12 to 1 Central Time here on Skype. Everybody is welcome to join in and let your friends and coworkers know about it. These is a partial list of topics that we've covered, just to give folks an idea. If you're thinking, well, should I be talking about Android development, or should I be talking about tribes of programmers, or should I be talking about whatever? Well, we've been all over the map, so just bring it up. We have a virtualbrownbag.com website where you always find the link to this meeting here, as well as a link to our Slack channel if you'd like to, just continue conversations that we're having here or suggest topics for things that we could be, talking for the next meeting, as well as links to the videos for the previous meetings. They're all up there in the website. And, well, without further ado, let's roll. So, hey, George, I am experimenting with right now. It's not quite working for me, man. It's not actually sharing on Skype what I have that I'm seeing on my screen here.
So, well, hold on, you're sharing your screen.
Well, yeah, okay, hold on, sorry. Yeah, I had to share my screen like the old school way, because what I have on my camera, like even if you see like my image on my camera right now, probably showing my improving background, right?
I'm not. Yeah, I'm just seeing it. Hold on, I can't even switch to just your view, your camera view. Yeah, I see your improvement background. That's right.
Yeah, but that's not right, because the way I have it in I have the actual slide decks showing.
It's a little weird. You have to like click on it, like make sure you've clicked on the slide deck. To
Yeah.
Yeah, so you did screen share on the bottom. So on the bottom, you just screen share, and then you add like kind of the screen share, and then you kind of have to select it to be like, this is what I wanted.
Yeah, and that's yeah, and that's like I still have the slides that come with the default templates for the app, and like I'm alternating those on the little preview in the app. I see that, but it does not reflect on the Skype.
Do you have Skype set out to also on top of that do a background? Because it kind of looks like you have something behind you. Like I think you've got a virtual background on top of a virtual background. Have Skype not add a background.
Oh, let's see. Maybe I don't remember. I don't think I've ever used the Skype background.
Well, yes, you did, because you were adding one before.
No, but that's no, that's not right. Okay, here we go. Oh, okay. You know what? Yeah, I take it back. And I said I haven't used the Skype background, was on my PC. Today I'm on my Mac. Not normally the machine that I use. There we go. Okay. Yes, that makes total sense.
Yeah, it's pretty great. So yeah.
Yeah. This is just the second call that I'm using it. Yesterday I had a call with coworkers and I tried it out and worked pretty good. I did try to like right now I have my green screen, which makes things a lot better. Because when I didn't have the green screen, then we get all that the thing around us that it looks kind of choppy. But then today I set up both the green screen and the powerful light that I have like right in front of me. That works pretty good.
So I actually got a green screen that attaches
Okay.
to the back of your chair.
Oh, you got one of those? Yeah, cool.
Yeah, and it is. Oh my God, it's not even going to capture it. Hold on. Can I turn off the room that it's on in?
Yeah, here's my green screen. Can you guys see it?
Yeah, no, but I don't have green screen turned on, which is like,
Gotcha.
no, but here's the problem with it. Like, so it's a big, whatever, it's a circle. Like even if I get attaching to the back of the chair, so here's the problem. That, like, it technically works really good, except for like every single time you move in your chair, your green screen wiggles, is one issue, and then the other issue here. I'll enable it. And you'll kind of see the deal.
Okay.
Because like I think that's an important thing just about these products in general to keep in mind.
Right.
This thing is big. How big does it have to be to actually capture the screen, right? Like this is my wingspan right here. Like, so it would have to be like another couple feet in radius bigger in order, like, I'm not sitting that far away from the screen. Like, I'd have to move like right up on it in order for it to actually cover the camera viewport. So that's a little bit of an, like, I don't think these are products that were ever meant to work, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, like my setup here. Let's see if I do the.
But you don't have it attached to the back of your chair.
No, I have it hanging behind me. Let's see what's the best way for me to show here. If I change the threshold right there, I have it like I mentioned the other day. I have it hanging on the ceiling. It's just like a regular, something that adhesive thing that I just put it up there.
Yeah.
So it's like hanging in here. So that way I can actually move around, because when I'm giving talks and things, I tend to move a lot. So something attached to my chair would not work. Also, like when I'm doing giving talks, I usually just stand. It gives me more of that feel of like giving talks in person. And I don't use a regular chair. I use one of those like kneeling chairs.
So the extras work for you, yeah.
So yeah, I love these chairs, and I've been using it for like 15 years. And for those on the call who haven't seen it, let me just kind of show it here if I can. Like one of these. All right, so yeah, there's no like back seat that I can lean against. So I've always been bad with bad posture, and this chair just helps with that, because I sit up straight, and also it helps with the blood circulation on my legs, because instead of having like a hard angle, it's more open like that, so it just helps with blood circulation. So I on a regular chair, after like 45 minutes of sitting on them, my legs start feeling like and on these I don't ever feel like that.
So I guess this is turning into our office setup episode.
Right? Yeah, sorry, that it was not meant to be like that. Yeah.
What's everyone else got going on? Anything that other people should know about?
I'm in my basement, but I might have to go up to my office if we're gonna do like a show off your office thing.
Oh.
I like it. I like the background blur effect.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's nice. It's a nice effect that kind of retains privacy. What about the rest of y'all? Anything in particular you have for your offices that people should know about? It's cool.
I'd give up on the virtual background. Y'all can see my dirty Starbucks cup. And just like the paper on the wall that covers up the bright light out of the window.
Yeah. Yeah, I just got like a really like I've got probably like an 8 foot long table. Like that's been key because I just throw shit on my table. This table is covered with a 3D printer, like all random electronic stuff, random 3D printing stuff. Yeah, like helping hands, a multimeter, old batteries. I get gross. Yeah.
I have a Veridesk in my office, so I can stand and I kind of had a similar problem like you did, Claudio. I could tolerate my body could tolerate standing for an hour, a couple hours tops, kind of thing, and then eventually I got my hands on a like an anti-fatigue mat that does a really good job, and now suddenly I can stand for weeks at a time, like 8 hours a day, 9 hours a day.
Oh.
Difference.
I keep hearing of those mats. Are those like the ones that run for like 80, $90 on Amazon or something like
I
that?
think this one was like 50 or 60, but yeah, same general price range, not hundreds or anything like that. It has like a little foam ball and some just weird knobs and stuff so you can kind of move your feet around. It really makes standing.
Yeah, I use something like this.
Yeah.
Since I don't have the mat, I use something like this once in a while.
Yep.
But yeah, getting me one of those. Sorry.
Is that it? You just put your feet on that, or?
Yeah, I just keep like rolling my feet on it.
Oh.
But yeah, get me one of those like Veridesk is something that's I actually just got a couple of months ago because I've always had an office kind of like ready to work, but I didn't have like a standing desk, and that was the main thing that I was missing from the actual office because ever since I got like standing desks, I noticed that I work like at least 80% of the time standing. And when I started like working full time at the house, I'm like, oh, I'm missing something and I know what that is. I need to be standing. So yeah, that's good. I'm gonna look at for that mat though, because I keep hearing you're maybe like the fourth or fifth person who mentioned that as yeah, you need to have that. If you're working standing, you need that mat. Like, all right.
Yeah, I'll drop a link to it.
Thanks.
I've been working on some.
What's that?
Okay.
Anybody heard of the Nerves project, or anybody familiar with? Do any Elixir work ever?
I played around with Elixir a bit, but no, I don't know Nerves.
The Nerves project is a platform for IoT. It's basically Nerves is like a tooling to create this embedded Linux system that is basically nothing but Elixir and the things it needs to run. And it even boots to an IEX shell instead of a shell. But I have a device over here. It's this green box that has an LCD screen, touch screen, and it's got a light. And did I show you all this last time?
No. Yeah.
And it's got a piezo buzzer and it's got a camera. It might not. I think it just updated, but
yeah. So like, what does it do?
these are going to be used out in. Our client is a logistics company that delivers sand to mines in West Texas. And, so they'll put them at the entrance and exit of the well sites, and they'll use the app to like scan it in, scan it out. It'll interface with the web application to like generate these events to put on these truckloads to track things. But I don't know if it's. Let's see, I might need this provision.
So they're rolling up there with like a QR code on their phone. They like scan it and it knows stuff, and enters it.
Ouch. What's that?
Yeah, there you go.
So that's the app to authenticate the kiosk. Basically, just transfer some. It tells the kiosk to make an HTTP request with a certain code, and then it grabs a token and holds on to that. Then now I can, as a driver, I can go and use the same sort of QR code that will basically just tell the kiosk what to do. It says, go post this payload to this endpoint. And then the endpoint responds with, turn the light on, turn the light off, turn the piezo buzzer on, display this message, all this sort of stuff.
Cool. So like what part of it, what is nerves specifically for?
So nerves is the whole thing.
Oh, so it's not like something you like coding, you're just configuring something.
Well, actually, no. I mean, it's an Elixir application and that's placed on this Linux system.
Okay.
Let's see, how do I share my screen?
It's next to the chat and the React buttons.
Because my Mac is hung up on this thing. Anyway, there is nerveshub.org. It's basically like an IoT. You create a product, you create a device, you upload your firmware to it, and the device makes a WebSocket connection to it. And anytime new firmware is updated, it'll over the wire update to the connected devices. Also, a lot like it also does like a remote to them. You can turn that on if you want, so you can get shell access as long as there's internet connection. All kinds of stuff that's built into it. It's really cool.
Okay, nice. And it's just like, so like what is the big like appeal of Elixir there? Like, because it does seem like lots of stuff can do that, right? Or is it just that that's the platform you happen to be on, or does Elixir bring something to the table there?
So I mean, Elixir is what I use. It's what the web application is built in. When we use LiveView for the front end interfaces, so basically our entire stack for this project is Elixir, including the IoT devices that are out in the field now. So it's just simple that way. It just so happens that the Nerves community or the Elixir community has this Nerves project that is fitting. It's
neat. So it's all browser based. The QR code reader and all that stuff is all browser based.
It's not. It's a UI library called Scenic.
Got it. Okay.
Which is another Elixir thing. It's kind of like a or something. It's some sort of native UI tool.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, no, that is cool. But like, it does seem like it's the sort of thing you would do if like you're entirely on an Elixir stack. What other stuff are y'all doing with the Elixir? Like, are you coding it, a lot of it, actually?
I'm not sure what the question is really. So this application for the web application for this is basically all Elixir. It basically is interfaces for just.
Yeah, I'm just curious about the choice to use Elixir to begin with. Like, it's got some like really neat features. So like,
oh yeah.
Like, was there like a decision while you're like, well, we need this because we need X, or was it just?
Well, Revelry just was using Elixir whenever I was hired, so I got into this project and just learned it. I enjoy it a lot. There's some things about Elixir that makes asynchronous stuff just really easy. A thing called which gets inherited from Erlang, but the concept of a gen server. You don't have to like make this entire application or microservice. The whole gen server thing is kind of like a microservice. I don't know. I typically don't talk very well about things like that.
All right, fair enough. Yeah, that's always like one of the interesting things that I like. Kind of want to play with Elixir, but also like it's a sizable ramp up, especially like if you're bringing people on and like no, you have no ability to track state directly at all. Like, and then was that hard to adjust to when you started with it, or?
The language is very easy to learn. I thought the things that are difficult are processes and learning how to keep track of the processes and like the supervision tree and having like being able to spawn processes dynamically and keeping track. All that stuff is difficult to start to understand, but once you get the hang of it, you start thinking in that world. It's easier.
Oh, cool. Yeah. I do think there's like interesting stuff going on in that world that is probably going to end up spilling over into other stuff. I mean, but I've been predicting that actors would be big. Would be big any day now for like 15 years now. Like, I've been like, yes, this is the year of actors. Like every couple of years, and then it's just oh yeah, there's a framework, nobody uses it. Like I was just even looking in JavaScript, they have a framework called Comedy, and be like, yeah, cool, I can use this. And like, I don't really have any place where I would recommend using it. And also, it's JavaScript, so it's always weird. Right.
The newer .NET called it's Orleans.
Yeah, I saw. I think Orleans has been around for like years. Claudio, do you remember Orleans? I definitely have heard that name before, and last time I would have been in a position to like care about something like that was probably like 3 or 4 years ago.
I'm looking it up. I do not remember anything about it. Platform for .NET. Let's see.
It has some of the same principles of Erlang gin servers somewhere in here.
Yeah, that's the one.
That's the one?
Yeah, and I'm not sure, like, I mean, like, how much actors it is versus it probably isn't. Yeah, right?
Okay. Yeah, this website does not tell me, like...
Right, exactly.
Improve
this stuff. Yes, please.
Yeah, right?
All right, here we go.
Yeah. So, Brian. So anyone else been working on anything cool? Looking at anything cool?
Go, Cheyenne. I'll talk too much.
Okay, go for it. Wait, you said you do want to talk too much? Or you don't?
No. I said I would talk too much.
Oh.
Cheyenne's here. He probably wants to say something. Go.
Oh yeah, go, Cheyenne.
Well, first of all, hello everybody. I've been trying to join the group for almost. I tried to join group for almost I think 3 to 4 weeks, but I don't know, this time is a bit challenging by my time zone. So as a result, sometimes I cannot join. Well, to do something cool. To be honest, for almost 3 months till now, I'm all trying to do code challenging, interviewing, these stuff. So I didn't have chance to do anything new. So I think probably I can do something within 1 or 2 weeks later. Yeah.
No.
I could talk about some React stuff, I guess.
Oh, hold on. Before you go there, George, if you don't mind, I want to call back to the topic that Brian actually brought up last week, and we didn't have time to discuss more. So, Brian, if you don't mind, bringing the topic back. I remember It was related to reporting and I think maybe organization around the reporting module. If you can refresh us on what the question was.
Yeah, I think that we've been talking about moving to more microservices in a project at work and rewriting this thing in .NET, which not really thrilled about. But one of the biggest questions that I had was like, once you start building these microservices out, and they're all talking to each other through these messages, whatever they are. The next thing you have to go and build is like this dashboard for accounting people or something that, you know, just list out all these, you know, 100 rows of things that are all related to each other, and you know, really what you just need is just one SQL query that just grabs all the data and puts it in a list for you. But like, so how do you handle those sort of dashboards when you have your information spread across all the different microservices? Was that the question that I?
That's yeah. I remember something.
Well, you mean like dashboards for like a dashboard for business people, or a dashboard of the ops that's going on in your application? Because it sounds like you were talking about like the business.
Yeah, like, so if you have all these products or all these orders that, you know, these users, and there's clients, and then there's the distributors or whatever, all these different relationships that are associated with these orders that you need to be able to look at a glance. And you know, these are like historic things, so you want to go back like maybe last year and get all the orders for a particular client or something like that, you know.
Have you? Sorry, I'm trying to make sure I understand the question. The problem or part of the problem is that the data is distributed across multiple databases due to the fact that they're in microservices. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure how microservices will filter into those.
Well,
I'm just used to a monolith with a, you know, big Postgres database.
Right. Can you do like an ETL style just data transformation? You know, a separate database essentially designed exclusively to hold data for your reporting, and you just run some ETL processes to take the data out of the various microservices, normalize it, and dump it into a database that you could just hit very lazily with a singular SQL query for your reports.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I see people do usually, and like it has like good advantages because you can now take, you know, the model that serves your reporting well is not the same as the model that serves your business domain well.
Right.
So you can, by splitting the two up, you kind of can do whatever you want in there, and you just need to, I don't know, occasionally just wipe it away and rebuild it or something like that. Like you probably some sort of NoSQL model might be actually better for reporting, unless you need to do like a bunch of ad hoc stuff.
That's a good point. Lots of extra infrastructure though, which kind of is not fun, but
yeah, we're not a big team either. I'm very I'm not very excited about, you know, getting into it. You know, right now we're a team of 10, and it just seems that, you know, if we get 20 of these microservices going, and we all have multiple environments for each one, and CI and whatever code coverage tooling and stuff like that, it's just like we're just going to have one person going through the things and fixing things that break with updates. And
it is a pain in the ass. I mean, like the original goal, the original idea of microservices, you have one team per microservice, which is not how I've ever done it, but like that's how it's supposed to work, right? Like I've definitely ended up being like a guy that's supporting like 7 different ones myself, like the whole application cluster. 10 people sounds pretty reasonable though. Like I don't know, that's like because the thing that's good with microservices is it makes it much easier to stay out of each other's way. because the way in which the people on the different services can interact is predefined. It's not a good fit if the same person typically has to make changes that cross multiple service boundaries. Then it's a real pain in the ass. So like I've been on a project before where we designed it in a way where there were a couple services split by domain, but then also within each one there was like a front end UI with a Webpack with a Webpack, then API layer that everything hit, and the API layer talked to a bunch of gRPC services via gRPC, which supplied the data, which was like really slick on an architectural diagram. But then like when you actually needed to make changes, like I needed to add some new data and some new field. I needed to figure out a way to make a database change, a change to the gRPC service, which is all strongly typed because our gRPC is strongly typed, not because Node is strongly typed, but because the interface itself is strongly typed. Then I have to make changes to the API layer typically because it's interacting with that strongly typed data. And then with the UI, which isn't strongly typed, but does need to know the shape of the data because that's what's changing. So like that much, it was a really big pain in the ass to do. And like, I wouldn't recommend that. But if you can like limit like this stuff to just be like, okay, do less layering, I guess, and more componentizing, then I'm kind of on a project now where it's not terrible and we're kind of doing stuff like that, though also for the time, like we're still pretty early on and I'm doing it only as a single web server Node application, but just carefully enforcing that like different pieces don't talk to each other and mimicking out Node modules for it. Which, by the way, is a neat trick I could show, how to mimic Node modules without having to actually create Node modules. I think, is there a good reason why y'all are choosing to go microservices to begin with? Is it so you can scale independently or what?
It's not a good reason. There's no good reasons. The Revelry built this thing for a client. The client ended up hiring their own engineers, and their own engineers have decided that they can't hire Elixir developers, and so they're going to rebuild what we've done for the past 4 years in .NET and in a microservice architecture.
Hire an Elixir developer, hire someone and let them learn Elixir over 2 weeks.
Elixir, yeah.
Oh, so they literally don't know how to interview someone who wants that job.
They don't know how to interview a software engineer, which...
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
Brian, I have a question about the timeliness of the data that you need for these reports. Is it something that you need in real time? Like in theory, somebody hits the page and they're getting up to the second information, or is there an established is there a service level agreement of some kind for the data being up to date as of an hour ago or yesterday or something of that nature? Because that could also change the way in which you approach the problem.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it's all hypothetical. It's, we have I have a particular page in mind, like how are we going to build this particular page, which is like something for accounting, which they don't have to do that. It's not in a real-time thing. It's something they come to like maybe a day or two after a project or a thing is finished. So, yeah, that would.
Yeah, in that case, it's like that's much nicer. Actually, you can really optimize your strategies there, right?
Right.
Only have do the ATL once in a while.
Not to be enigmatic, if you wanted to do real-time data across microservices architecture, you can do schema stitching in GraphQL, because at that point you get field level queries, field level resolvers. So each individual data point potentially could make a separate fetch to a separate microservice to resolve it. And assuming those microservices are using traditional REST APIs, you can put really strong caching in front of them. And that way you don't have to run jobs and do ETLs. You can just have each individual field be real-time fetched from cached microservice data. It's not the fastest setup in the world, but it will get you real-time data in a way that's probably a lot easier to manage than like processed jobs and ETLs and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Cool.
And then the other nice thing is, well, again, it's kind of tough. Your team size is fixed, but then like if you're doing, if you're having, if you are just having something that's just ETL, that is something you could reasonably, if you have good guardrails there, have junior developers do, right? Like you don't need to like be killing yourselves over it, because for the most part it's take some data, transfer it, and move it over there.
Right. And it's like getting it all set up. You could even hire it out. You could subcontract out that particular portion of the job if you just needed to get it done with.
Yeah, I'm mostly just complaining about them wanting to do this.
Fair enough. Yeah, if you don't like moving data around or just dealing with the problems that come with that, then it's not very a very fun problem to solve, I'm sure. But.
Yeah. Although, it'll be fun learning a new language. I've never used .NET or C#, so I've got no problem with learning something.
Yeah, you might like it. I did .NET for a handful of years. I kind of got away from it, went into Node and now Python. But I would go back to .NET if I had to pick a strongly typed language.
It's fine. It could be worse.
It's fine.
I don't know. Anytime you have to, but then you have to deal with like a assembly redirection bug, and you don't say that anymore.
Yeah, it's not fun.
There's always something.
No, I'll tell you, like another, like speaking of microservices, like all this morning, I'm dealing with an issue. One of my, I've got a team, myself and two juniors. I'm on a Mac, and of course the other two, one is on Windows and the other is on Linux. So that's great. And then like on top of all of that, like this morning, I wrote a component. I'm freaking. I thought it would take like half a day to wire up. It took 2 days, but still kind of awesome that I can now call like a publication method whenever anything happens, and it gets formed into a message that it's sent to AWS SNS, which then gets linked into an SQS queue, and then I've got a notification service pulling the SQS queue, which has a socket IO connection that people connect to, and if it pulls that message down and matches up user IDs from the message and and formulates a message for what they should see and pops the message up on their screen in their web server. And thrilled to get that working, happy to get that working. The guy that's on Linux merges that code in, and his server will no longer start. And I'm trying to figure out what the heck is going on with him, and it's like he sends so we're not running actual AWS to make it easier. We're running a local stack, which runs in a Docker container. And his Docker container, for some reason, once you start interacting with it, goes nope, and can't authenticate anything, and just hangs up. And so we're trying to figure out what the heck is that, and now we're at the nexus of Docker shit, AWS shit. I'm not an expert on either one. I know what I'm doing with AWS. I know some of the 3-letter acronyms. It's Docker shit, AWS shit, Node shit. Then trying to debug it, because Node is a nightmare. It's anytime you can't do top level awaits in certain types of files and all sorts of things. It sucks. It can be so frustrating.
It's specific to the Linux machine, though?
I don't know. It's specific to him.
Fair enough.
We're trying to figure it out, but then of course no, I'm not getting work done in the other time, which means the other junior person is blocked.
It's just a memory limitation or timeout or something like that.
It could be. I mean, I'm starting to suspect. I thought it could have also been I thought for a while maybe the local stack image needed to be rebuilt. We need to rebuild that. I thought we needed to repull it because maybe he had an older version. That wasn't it. You know, it could be because he's on Linux. Like for the rest of us, we run the server off port 80, but on Linux, you by default you can't run off of port 80. You have to do some UFW stuff, and he's too junior to like figure it out. So he's just redirecting it to another port, but for some reason .env stopped working on his machine, so he has to do it by actually modifying the code every time, which is a whole other thing that I'm like, what are you doing, man? Like we need to do that, but I'm like that's not like he's getting it done. He's working whichever way we can. He shouldn't be going off of down rabbit holes, you know, trying to chase .env bugs as a junior. But at the same time, like that's the sort of shit you run into, and especially as you get like more distributed, more different pieces and moving, and you just have to like you're just bashing your head against it, and like it gets really, really tough. And like, yeah, and like I'm starting to think that like maybe his AWS configuration is wrong, because like local stack will use your AWS config file because it needs it in order for the SDK to work, but it won't actually validate any of it. So maybe he's got some sort of junk in there. I don't know. It's all very, very confusing, to be honest. And yeah, especially stack, like the error comes from inside of local stack, which took a while to figure out. And internally to itself, it's using AWS IP addresses, like, because it's got like emulating all these different services, and so it mounts like SNS on the whatever IP within the AWS network SNS is. So the error has all these IP addresses. So for a while we're like, why is this hitting real AWS? And when we realized, no, it's not. The error is coming from inside of local stack, which has its own thing, a whole network setup. It sucks. It's all a nightmare. Everything's a nightmare in tech.
Local stack. It's pretty damn cool.
It's cool. It's not easy. It's rough because like this is my first like doing anything real with AWS, and we have like no ops support really. Like, and
that's hard.
Yeah, like use real AWS, even harder when working with two juniors and you have to like commission stuff, and we don't have any ops support. And I would not use AWS at all, but then, you know, I have to set up RabbitMQ by myself and all this other stuff, and then get it all talking together. So that's an even harder option. and then with all that. Yeah, like I kind of ties to microservices stuff, because like once you say, all right, microservices, all this stuff ends up flowing from it. And, you know, as much as I don't want to like to use AWS, like that's clearly the answer, because there's like a lot of shit that's built in for you that it does do for you, but it doesn't help a lot. It only helps a little more than the alternative. Like you still have to do a ton of studying, and then like with the specialties and the seniorities of the people on the team, so you can really get yourself into all.
So this like we've had trouble because of like furloughs and stuff. We lost a lot of our cluster ops people, and so like they're backed up, and it's hard. Like I just want to like put together a toy project over the weekend, and I don't have anybody to go and like give me a new Kubernetes instance or something like that. But and you know, at the same time, I can't get somebody to make me an S3 bucket. Can't like get the things configured for SES and whatever. Mm-hmm. It seems like I could use this to kind of put those pieces together without having to go make somebody make me an IAM. And
it is, and I believe it ignores all IAM permissions for the most part. So like it just acts like you have like IAM is properly configured and you have permission to everything. At least it should, to the best of my ability. It doesn't come, the free version doesn't come with the best like web UI for all this stuff. using the CLI to interact with everything, which is fine. It's just not great for discoverability or just figuring out what the hell's going on inside the system. But I mean, yeah, if you're an AWS person who knows all that stuff and knows all the commands that you need, then I'm sure it works great for you. Yeah. This has saved me slightly more time than it cost. That's what I'm saying, basically.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah.
I can change subjects, talk about stuff that I'm working on, if that would be fun. So at work, my tech stack is React and Python. I have a side project that I work on very infrequently. That is React and AWS Amplify. That's been super, super fun. I don't know if anybody's been into that yet, but
What is AWS Amplifying?
it's like it's a platform from AWS that sort of stitches together their GraphQL offerings and auth and database and a whole bunch of stuff like that. But what's really cool about it is you can, like, the promise that they have is essentially you write a GraphQL schema file and then run some, update the project based on my schema file commands on the command line, and it will go out and do everything necessary to get all that up and running. So it's like you got an app, you want to add auth, there's a command line, add some auth. You want to add, you want to extend the user with something else, who knows what, addresses or something like that. You go and you make an address type, you join it using the, they have like some special join decorator style syntax. You do that, you run a command, suddenly you've got, a whole database blown out for you, including all the necessary resolvers to go fetch the data and apply it and all that kind of stuff. It's really, really cool. It's been in the butt getting it up and running. Documentation is wanting, I'll call it. There's lots of room for improvement, but if you can get past all of that, it's really, really cool stuff.
Yeah, I've used it a few times, not on anything other than toy stuff, but like the database stuff, and like, what is it called, app sync or something like that, where you just like put things and it eventually gets up to the cloud somewhere. That whole thing is pretty cool. App sync, whatever it's called.
Yeah, I think it's AWS App Sync. Yeah, that's the REST or GraphQL that's like, it does bindings, right, to either it does bindings from a database to REST or GraphQL, whatever you pick, right? I think that's what AppSync does. It's very cool stuff, though.
AppSync does bindings for GraphQL? Like it's its own GraphQL server or something?
It's not. It makes so AWS has, maybe it's part of AppSync, but ultimately, yeah, they use I'm sorry, no, it's like Lambdas.
I think it eventually makes its way to like DynamoDB or Aura, which is like their MySQL thing, I guess.
Yep, through Lambda, AWS Lambda, and yeah, so I think that's how they do it ultimately, is the resolvers. I haven't dug deep enough into precisely how they get it done. It's just a very interesting project because they weave, kind of like the local stack thing you were talking about. They weave together a bunch of sort of disparate services, but they come together to make this really robust standalone product that is, from my perspective, very, very powerful.
Yeah, I did a project a long time ago, and set out to make like the completely serverless website for this bakery in Baton Rouge that didn't want to pay for web servers. And
Sure.
I wish that I had Amplify back then, because it was like stitched together Cognito and SES. And,
yeah.
Lambda functions everywhere, and simple DB instead of DynamoDB. It was fun to learn, but every time he asks for an update, I'm like, oh, please God, just like make all this shit just work.
Right. Well, it's like you don't touch it for 2 months or whatever, and then you're like, I don't even know how this comes together anymore. You're gonna have to bill like minimum billing time of 30 hours just to refresh your memory on how the hell it all comes back together, so you can make the one line change that they asked you for.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
And I've been weaving that AWS Amplify stuff with some like third-party APIs and like a 2D animation library and just a bunch of weird stuff, trying to make it all work. It's been really interesting.
So the 2D animation library. So what for? What do you use it for?
Oh, got it. Yes. Good question. Sorry. I play a card game, Magic the Gathering, and I'm literally just trying to like make a thing where I can, construct a deck and like play it, in a browser. That's my objective.
Okay.
So it's not for anybody else. I think I'll get the pantsuit off of my. I made it publicly available, but it was just an interesting project, for myself to kind of geek around with.
Absolutely. That's cool. Yeah, thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
I once made a site to do Jacks are better, like video poker.
Oh yeah.
It looks and has all the sounds and stuff. I need to find that. I think I tried to wire it up at some point to accept like Stellar, Lumen.
Okay.
Yeah, that's probably also illegal. Anyway.
Yeah, it's fun though. It's fun building stupid stuff like that. I should probably drop off. I got a meeting at 1:00 Central Time, and so I got to go get ready for that. It was really awesome talking to you all, and hopefully not hopefully, I will be back at some point in the future.
Oh, awesome. Thanks for sharing, Brent. Appreciate it, man. Thanks for joining us.
Take care, gentlemen.
You too. Anything else to fill up the next couple of minutes, guys? I was gonna say, it seems like George is speaking but on mute, but then I see him like looking someplace else.
I said I think my neighbor's doing weed whacking directly outside my window. So, but I actually do have to drop off too and get on another meeting. But it's good. I think we've got a couple of minutes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Stuff next time. Fun with React comments and so on.
Gotcha.
I'll talk to you all later.
All right. Thanks everybody for joining. Hope to see you all back next week. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.